Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear friends. My name is Esin and I'm a teacher lecturer of genetics. So its channel is all about genetics. Today we will discuss history of molecular genetics in detail. That what is the history of molecular genetics? So to start the history of molecular genetics, first we introduce molecular genetics. So what is molecular genetics? It is the study of gene on molecular level, for example DNA, RNA, chromosomes on molecular level. So it is simple definition of molecular genetics. Next, the short history of classical genetics from 1733 to 1910 began the history of molecular genetics. So we start with this short history of classical genetics from 1733 to 1910, before Mendelism to molecular level. J.G. Collier in 1733 and 1806 to 1806 experiment on hybridization. Thomas Andrew Knight 1759 to 1838 importance for the history of classical genetics on Vivlon. Jagos and Sutton in 1824 describe the phenomena of dominance once again in fees. German or Wagner 1805 to 1864 began to argue at mid-century that analyzing a mass of data of hybridization experiment. Mendel published paper in 1866 on phi-plot inheritance, which is rediscovered in 1900. The English Mendelian William Bateson coined the new science in 1905. Danish biologist William Johnson distinguished theoretically between genotype and phenotype in 1909. In 1909, the Danish biologist William Johnson proposed that there are two sources of variation, one arising from the action of environment, which mean phenotype, and the other due to variation in Mendel hereditary factor, which mean genotype. Entities Johnson called genes. Thomas Hunt Morgan and a student in the 1910s. Morgan and a student focused on transmission, a force to development and evolution, and kept the base of modern genetics. Morgan and his crew were depicting the birth of modern genetics. History of molecular genetics. Historically, the origin of molecular genetics is 1953, when Watson and Crick found the secret of life, structure of DNA, and published paper on DNA structure in 1953. The instant I saw the picture, my mouth fell open and my heart began to race. Jim Watson, a double helical structure. At the end of paper, they said that it has not escaped or noticed that the specific pairing we postulated immediately suggests to possible copying mechanism by the genetic material. Watson and Crick in 1953. Nobel Prize on DNA structure. In 1962, Crick, Watson and Wilson were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for their work in the discovery of the structure of DNA. The Nobel Foundation forbids any awards to be given to more than 3 people, which lead to certain controversial omissions such as Rosalind Franklin's death. 5 years after Watson and Crick published their paper in 1953, and after that in 1958, Rosalind Franklin died of cancer at 37. There is speculation as to what caused their cancer, with some attributing her death to extended exposure to X-ray radiation. Leading up to the discovery, in 1968, DNA base became mainstream by chemist Master Accelerated Nuclein, and in 1910, Linney present tetranucleated hypothesis. In 1928, Grip present transferring principle, and in 1944, Avery, McLeod, and MC Katie says DNA transforming principle. In 1950, Chargaff's rule says that adenine will always bind with thymine, and guanine has always been with cytosine. In 1952, Hershey and Chase present blender experiment, and at the end 1953, Watson and Crick present a structure of DNA. In 1944, Avery McLeod and M. Charity says that DNA is the genetic material, and in 1953, Watson and Crick, Wilkins and Franklin present the molecular model of DNA structure. In 1977, Maxim and Gilbert as well as Singer described lab methods for DNA sequencing. In 1978, Manitis et al. Developed a procedure for gene isolation, construction and screening of clone libraries. In 1983, Mullis invents the technique known as polymerase chain reaction (PCR). In 2001, drop sequencing of the human genome are published. Lendert did a law. Through knowing the DNA structure, we have made advances such as GMOs, cloning, genome, and so on. GMOs, genetic modified organism. So it is all about history of molecular genetics. Thanks for watching this, and subscribe our YouTube channel for next videos related to genetics. SN Genetics YouTube lecture.